commercial flight from Brazil arrived Nigeria as President Tinubu resuscitates bilateral trade.
Unity and regional security collaboration top agenda as African Defense Chiefs Summit ends in Abuja.
Transport Minister constitutes committee to unravel the cause of Abuja-Kaduna train derailment.
And on Good Morning Nigeria, today we shall review 7-year moratorium on tertiary institutions and much later examine importance of sodium limits in reducing salt intake.
The federal government has imposed a 7-year moratorium on the establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, citing the proliferation of underutilized institutions, on overstretched resources and a drop in academic quality.
Now, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said the challenge in Nigeria's tertiary education system was no longer access, but inefficient duplication, poor infrastructure, inadequate staffing, and dwindling enrollment in many existing institutions.
Yeah, you're right, Jumai. In addition, several federal universities operate far below capacity, with some having fewer than 2,000 students, and in one university in Nigeria, there are 1,200 staff serving fewer than 800 students, which implies a waste of government resources.
And the Education Minister in his briefing noted that 199 tertiary institutions received fewer than 100 applications through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board in 2024 and 2025 academic session, with 34 institutions recording 0 applications. Amazing.
It's amazing. Well, meanwhile, of the 295 polytechnics nationwide, many had fewer than 99 applicants, while 219 colleges of education also posted poor enrollment figures, including 64 with no application.
And the minister noted that the moratorium also extends to new private universities, polytechnics and colleges of education to prevent further under-enrollment. Well, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. On that note, I am Jumai Hiasof.
And I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are reaching you live from Abuja on the network service of the NTA. Shortly, we'll join Comfort Amodu for highlights of the morning news and much later newspaper review. Let's now join Comfort Amodu. Good morning, Comfort. How comfortable are you?
I'm quite comfortable, and that's a critical step to ensure quality education, by the way, by the federal government. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after his visit to Japan and Brazil. The presidential flight 001 landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at 20 minutes past 1 Thursday morning. Also returning with the President are Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, Deputy President of the Senate, Barrow Jibrin, Governors of Kaduna and Plateau States. And the President, who left Abuja August 15, had a stopover in Dubai before proceeding to Yokohama, Japan, where he attended the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD 9. After another stopover in Los Angeles, the President took off to Brazil on a 2-day state visit. At the historic visit, where the Nigerian leader was accorded a colorful reception, 5 agreements were signed to strengthen economic cooperation between both countries. Top government functionaries led by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Safety, Festus Keyamo, were on board the maiden commercial flight from Brazil to Nigeria that landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport following the recent visit of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Brazil. The significant visit is yielding positive fruits are seen with resuscitation and strengthening of bilateral relations between both countries. And addressing journalists, both Ministers of Information and National Orientation and the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Safety says this is a landmark achievement for economic prosperity that will boost economic growth, while commending President Tinubu for the successful trade deals beneficial to both countries.
To Brazil, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his wisdom, has decided to open up our economic relations, diplomatic relations, trade relations again with Brazil. Brazil is the biggest economy in South America, and of course, Nigeria is considered the biggest economy in Africa. So connecting these two economies was very key to both presidents. The trade between both countries plummeted from $10 billion to $2 billion. And that is how, in 10 years, and that was how the things got sour. But with this, of course, relations will pick up again. And key to this, key to the achievement of all the agreements we signed, is the connectivity between both countries.
The Minister of Transportation, Senator Said Ahmed Al-Khali, has constituted a committee to investigate the train derailment that occurred along the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. The committee has been charged to investigate the immediate and remote causes of the accident, make recommendations on how to prevent similar incidents in the future, and also identify ways to enhance the safety and effectiveness of rail transportation in Nigeria. Musa Ibrahim will lead the committee as chairman, while Omotola Olusegun will serve as secretary. The inaugural African Defense Chief Summit has ended in Abuja with a call for unity and collaboration to confront the continent's evolving security challenges. Defense chiefs are unanimous in looking inward to develop their military-industrial complex and identify joint security operations and upskill intelligence sharing.
The need for more effective border management and regional security cooperation. During this discussion, we recognize that porous borders fuel terrorism, trafficking, and armed banditry, and we stress the need for integrated security frameworks to address these challenges. It was evident that sharing intelligence, conducting joint operations, and coordinating counter-radicalization efforts are essential.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, is attending the 27th Interpol African Regional Conference in South Africa, a strategic forum that strengthens international cooperation against transnational crime and enhances global law enforcement synergy. The conference brings together over 200 police chiefs and security leaders from 56 countries to deliberate on contemporary security challenges, intelligence sharing, and cross-border policing strategies. The IGP is also scheduled to deliver an address on cattle theft in West Africa, a conduit for terrorism and crime threats, highlighting its link to organized crime and terrorism financing. That's the news. Stay tuned for Good Morning Nigeria with Jume and Ademola after this break.
Have you been aspiring to be a student of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University Zaria to no avail? Worry no more, as you can gain entry through NTA Television College Jos, an affiliate of the renowned Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, where eligible candidates with a JAMB admissible scores of not less than 180 and 100 scores, and with 5 credits O-level in social sciences, including English and mathematics, can turn their passion in broadcasting to profession by applying for a BSc in Mass Communication and MBTE approved innovation diploma courses in film and television production, broadcast journalism, and television engineering, respectively. The college, as a training hub with a pedigree of professionalism in the media space, also offers specialized courses in other related fields. For more information, visit our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or contact 08033 834-343 and 08069809897. Announcer Management.
We're not in a romantic relationship, we're in a dash.
Brotherly relationship.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah, very bad boy.
No.
Family relationship.
Who be your family?
Situationship.
Are you in a situationship?
It is well.
Survey says... Hey!
Onenge is my girlfriend.
You want dodge? Thank God. Say I hacked. An oversized shirt is okay to wear, but an oversized dash isn't.
Skirt.
Bro.
Shop.
Pants. Whoa. Name something you add to your text to make them more interesting.
Emojis.
Stickers, pictures.
The way my back at the breathing, at the hear.
Gifts.
Survey says.
My birthday.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we are more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthened in unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Watching Good Morning Nigeria, and it's now time for newspaper review.
Well, our newspaper reviewer is here, Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja. Chooks.
Demola, how are you doing?
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I like the crispy, brief.
Crispy what?
Yeah, it's crispy, but brief, yet it covers you properly. Good morning again. I like what you have on.
Thank you.
Jumai.
Good morning, Mr.
How now?
I'm like, good morning.
Good to see you.
I almost spoke Hausa.
Always calm. Always on Chukudi. She's always calm.
Mr. Chooks, let's
Hello.
begin with the paper. The front pages are so busy today. Let me begin with the leadership newspaper. And the leadership newspaper above the masthead. FG ASU meet today to avert strike. You find the details on page 7. Governor Yusuf raises committee to investigate abattoir sale by Ganduje. You find the details also on page 7. And below the masthead, Minister sets up 12-man panel to probe train derailment as NRC MD apologizes. You find also the details on page 7. PDP Southern ticket lobby for Jonathan Obi's return hots up. Find the details on page 4. And at the side piece of the picture story there, see mother, 3 children die in Zaria building collapse. Details on page 7. FG unveils 750 billion pension board. Details on page 8. Alake orders shutdown of illegal gold site in FCT. Find the details on page 7. And Guinea Balstasa Ngoga gets 8-year jail term after sex scandal. And the headlines in the leadership newspaper: residents fighting bandits with stones made me buy arms. Katsina lawmaker. With the rider, my intention is not to militarize the people, it is to give them a fighting chance until security personnel arrive. Find the details on page 4. The picture story there, members of the Niger Delta Ethnic Nationality Youth Leaders Forum protesting against Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited's Group Chief Executive Officer at the company's headquarters here in Abuja. And at the bottom plate, Niger Republic PM Sultan of Damagaram orders celebrate Hausa Day in Daura. Let's quickly go to the Daily Times newspaper. And above the masthead of the Daily Times newspaper, train derailment, we can't dismiss any leads. That's coming from Epeafia, that's it, the MD of the Nigeria Railway Commission. And the headlines, 239 first-class lecturers quit UNILAG over poor pay, ex-VC reveals. That's on page 10. And at the bottom plate of the Daily Times, lawyers, security chiefs clash at MBA annual conference. Details on page 2. Review of Nigeria's law vital for good governance, survival of democracy. That's coming from the AGF. Nigeria High Commission in UK not involved in extortion. That's coming from Kanuk. And NLC to FG inaugurate PENCOM board immediately. The details on page 6. And President Tinubu applauds capital market boom as market value hits 72 trillion naira. Mr. Demola?
Oh, okay, thank you. I have the Blueprint newspaper with me, and just above that nameplate, we have Uzodima approves 104,000 naira minimum wage for Imo civil servants. Details of that story can be found on page 6. And we have NACO to unveil digital hard savings scheme. CBN orders banks to put POS terminals under GPS radar. Details of that story can be found on page 21. Waffle Cup qualifiers, Chadian officials to handle Super Eagles Rwanda tie. That's on page 32. Then the major headline reads, AI deployment can fast-track Nigeria's $1 trillion economy before 2030. NITDA says nations can't afford to miss fourth industrial revolution. So you can get the details of that story from page 8. Despite Tinubu's endorsement for 2027, our ticket remains open, APC. Details of that story can be found on page 8. Full implementation of ACGA key to speedy trials, AGF. Details of that story can be found on page 8 as well. Then we have NOA flags off campaign on national values, symbols, orders. China boosts Nigeria's flood relief efforts with $1 million. Details on page 21. And federal government orders war risk insurance premiums on Nigeria-bound vessels removed. So, Chooks, it's over to you.
And warning that we might miss the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
Would attract a lot of, God forbid, from us. But you see, these things come as a function of attitude towards matter, towards phenomenon. It starts from appreciating the wonders coming from the exploits of the village blacksmith. You start thinking like that, you know. Industrializing is a way of thinking. You think it, you'll get there.
You get there.
You know, I think what people always jump to was, how could you industrialize without steel? And the sad stories of Alaja and Ajokuta would
something
now
we have
is something
in abundance.
Exactly, you know. So let us learn to think like that. You can always cross the bridge if you manage to walk up to it. So let's not...
Actually, the minister is emphasizing on AI development now, and, you know, most of our youths are into that, and I believe that will not be left out.
No, AI development is a general thing. AI is in iron and steel. Is in agriculture.
China is doing amazing things.
It's everywhere.
And
AI will continue to grow. I just pray that one day the machines don't take over.
Don't take over.
I would like to watch you run into the bush.
Still need human beings to, you know, monitor and control and do
they are afraid that at a point it might start giving itself instructions.
Yes.
Don't wave it aside.
And this generation of Gen Z, they were born with AI.
Oh.
They depend so much on AI.
They are AI compliant.
Yes, to do almost everything to do.
I think they have to...
Projects, school, and everything, they use AI. And they go to a place where they humanize their script, and you won't even know that it's AI.
No. You know an AI script.
No,
listen out for absence of emotion.
Yes,
you know an AI voice.
Yeah.
You know they read straight and all that. Anyway, it takes some experience to do that.
Okay, let's talk about this. Minister sets up 12-man panel to probe train derailment.
12?
CMD.
12?
12 panel, and I feel, and my
I don't know. I think maybe he took people from different units and departments. He wanted proper representation. Otherwise, I would have said, can 6 people look at it? But let's not talk deeply about it since we don't know the it's likely that he took people from relevant units so that everybody would be there to supply needed information to find out why this happened. As I said yesterday, I am happy no life was lost.
No life was
and the people who are being treated, nobody is really in a critical,
state.
But we need to look at it because train derailment is it's not like a car crash.
It's not.
It's not a car crash,
And this Katsina lawmaker, residents fighting bandits with stones made me buy arms.
And the first thing you say is, what daring? How could people be as bold as using stones on bandits who are clutching AK-47?
They are tired.
Wouldn't the bullet stop them mid-air as they leave the... But it tells you the desperation of the people. It tells you how serious it is for them.
I was watching a video, somebody said his wife, his children, and even people he gave succor to in his house have been taken. He doesn't know where his kids are. He doesn't know where his wives are.
Every hour, every second, when people he had so close to his heart are detached from him.
And you don't know where they are.
When we are talking about other people's situations, we tend to look at it as if it happened to tree for forest. The agony would be unfathomable. Where do you begin to measure the man's agony? It's unfortunate.
Well, I know because we experienced it in Borno State.
Yes.
There are so many of my friends who have not been found.
What we say at the end of the day is, please let there be proper cooperation between the security agencies and the people. The other time, a top military person was saying he was not comfortable with the kind of paying 50 million naira to bandits and all that. But I said, maybe the people had no choice anymore. Let us keep winning the war. Because just 2 days ago, Ribadu was, presenting some people who were released. It means we too are putting in whatever metal can come into fighting these.
It's a sad situation.
These people with heart of stone, no conscience at all. It's unfortunate.
Another alarming issue is in the Daily Times newspaper. 239 first-class lecturers quit Unilag.
The first thing you would have said is, where then go find work? Because an academic...
Where they go find work?
Yes.
Most of them, maybe they're Japat.
Are you serious about that?
No, I am. Academics kind of restricts you to the classroom in the main. It's like a journalist. Do you know why some journalists don't do so well?
Academics can work from anywhere.
They can work anywhere. I agree with it. But a real lecturer, a real journalist, usually feels like a fish out of water when he leaves the newsroom. I know what I'm talking about. Academics, researchers, they are mono-minded about certain things. But that's not to say they can't fit in. Of course, the human adaptability, the pace of human adaptation to phenomenon, environment is astounding. It tells you nature has done a good job on us. But it takes some time. So for them to walk away, it means that it is really a dire situation for them. You don't walk out of academia into just any other job easily like that.
No, I don't think they are taking other jobs. Maybe they become researchers, or they can just work. They can lecture people from America, from the UK online.
Okay. Oh, you are going the AI. You are doing a lot better than me. They could actually.
It's not a matter of just staying in the academics. They can move to other fields as well.
They can, but
these are quality
first class
yes,
teachers.
They can, I agree, but she stopped me from pigeonholing us. Pigeonholing us in the sense that These days, you can't teach people from your own bedroom.
Yes,
that's the point she was making, and I thought it was a wonderful point. We should highlight it, even though I'm jealous it didn't come from me.
And FG ASUU meet today to avert
the long-running story of ASUU and government. I pray that they will find a solution eventually. Yesterday, what did we say? We said it's not a matter of if, but when. That's talking about the next strike. It's not quite palatable. It's not it. I know that what is happening in at the citadels isn't the best experience for people, but it's a general problem. And anyway, I would have loved a situation where government can properly fund them and tell them, henceforth, you are going to look after yourselves. How much is Trump asking for from Harvard? You haven't read it.
Yeah.
It's not less than $500 million.
Yes,
you know?
$1 million.
That money is transactional. The man
He's
is trading.
He's a businessman.
I can't call a whole president of the United States of America a street trader. I dare not say it. You know. So, but Trump is one human being.
Trump is a businessman.
Yeah.
But I think
and he's so straightforward about it. I'm beginning to like him.
I think government is trying to find solution to the challenges that we have in the education sector. Now, with the moratorium that we're discussing today, is one of the solutions. And I don't know. Most of the private universities are actually doing very well right now. I mean,
because they tend to be better funded. Funding means a lot when it comes to
the learning environment.
And the learning environment.
The learning environment.
Again, learning environment. All those things draw from what resources you push into the project. You know. And they are not as big as many of the other universities, you know. Some of them...
Well, you have 500 in a class.
Exactly, that's it. But whatever happens, if it's going to go out...
But you don't have 500 in the class any longer. Most of the universities are even underpopulated.
Now, yes.
Yes, I agree.
But what is happening?
Well, what is happening is that...
what is happening is the reasons why they want to go on strike today now. I mean,
it is still, I can tell you, Jumai, as you sit there, what you're thinking about is when it's time for the next minimum wage,
increment.
That's what you're thinking. It is that same thing that is happening
everywhere. Or special salary for NTA staff.
But in my time, 12.5 was given to us as journalists, the way in. Allowance that time.
It has not been reviewed.
Whereas 10% was going to the general people. So they had always given us that acknowledgement, that recognition that we do. On Sunday we find you here. On Friday we find you here. So we are like soldiers, exactly, soldiers, policemen, nurses, and doctors. It is not discrimination when you give them something a little different. That's my opinion about it. You know. So that's it.
I hope they are listening.
No, they always listen. They're watching us. You know?
Okay, Chukudi, on that note, they are listening.
Oh, okay.
So as we are listening to my director too.
Thank you, my dear.
Time for
you would always ask me politely. He kicks me out.
Thank you, Mr. Chukudi.
See you guys tomorrow. Thank you.
All right.
When we return, our conversation on Good Morning Nigeria will begin. Do stay.
Are you ready? Join us on Reshaping Democracy, a groundbreaking program on the network service of the NTA, where citizens get the chance to ask ministers, heads of ministerial departments, agencies, and other top government officials questions on their performance and delivery of mandates. With no sector of limits, conversations build around bridging communication gaps for feedback and effect as our guests engage with the people they serve.
How does ND foster partnerships with organizations, government agencies, NGOs, among others?
As our leaders give account to citizens' inquiries on good governance, tune in to Reshaping Democracy, a creative concept coming up every Tuesday evening at 10:05 p.m.
This is Reshaping Democracy.
Food security is national security. And where there is hunger, then the insecurity in that particular country will continue to remain. And so it is in everybody's interest, not just the government interest, but the private sector as well, to ensure that we have a very good agricultural policy that drives sustainable growth and then progress, of course, in its implementation. One of the things that we were doing and we stopped doing as a country is the operations of the storage facilities, the storage infrastructure, all the way to logistics, talking about farm mechanization, the vehicles that we need. The feeder routes, the construction of the feeder routes. The feeder routes are so called because they are not A-trunk roads. They are farmstead roads. I believe that if a considerable investment can go into the construction of feeder roads, then our machines, our transportation equipment would be a lot more efficient. There will be a lot of uptime, less downtime, and we will be able to, on good time, transport our produce from farm gate to either factory gate or market gate. Let us look at how we can make a dual use of our farm mechanization equipment so that when a tractor in the planting season takes a plow, a harrow, and it's able to prepare land, during the harvest and post-harvest season, you should be able to attach a bucket to that tractor to be able to take it to the nearest center where it can then be taken on. These are short and medium-term measures that we can take to boost productivity. We need to ensure that agriculture is practiced in the most acceptable and modern way possible. We need to make sure that the science of agriculture is indeed science. In other words, we are able to apply methods, we are able to apply resources into grain agriculture so that when we are fully migrated away from hoes and cutlasses and all of these menial tasks, which, by the way, have formed some impression in the mind of these young people, they would then be able to see how enjoyable and how profitable agriculture can be. We've seen a lot of digitization of the sector. There is digitization of agriculture today. We have precision agriculture. We also have climate smart agriculture. All of these, of course, hydroponics, greenhouse agriculture, and all of these are actually a better way, a more excellent way of producing food in an organic manner, but a lot more smartly.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And just before we bring in our guest to unpack our conversation on the review of 7-year moratorium for tertiary institutions, let's take this background report put together by Ibrahim Bellogunda.
The federal government has announced a 7-year moratorium on establishing new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, citing underutilization of stretched resources and declining academic quality. The decision was approved during the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu following a presentation by the Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Olatunji Alausa. Dr. Maruf Alausa said accessibility is no longer the main challenge facing Nigeria's tertiary education sector, but duplication, inadequate infrastructure, poor staffing and dwindling enrollment. Nigeria currently has 72 federal universities, 42 federal polytechnics and 28 federal colleges of education alongside hundreds of state and private tertiary institutions. However, after years of unchecked proliferation of universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, the federal government hit to calls for a more rational and sustainable approach, and this move aims to make Nigeria's tertiary education system more meaningful and globally competitive within the 7-year window. How will this policy improve the standard and quality of education in Nigeria? Will the window allow government to channel its resources to fully upgrade its institutions to global standard? And how will Nigeria improve the utilization of already established institutions? This and more will form the basis of discussion on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Bello, for that background report on review of 7-year moratorium on tertiary institutions in Nigeria. We already have our guests seated in the studio for our conversation this morning. And first on the list, we have in the studio Professor Andrew Haruna, is the Secretary Committee of Vice Chancellor of Nigeria Universities and President, Nigeria Academy of Letters. Professor Haruna, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right.
We also have Dr. Philip Ayab, an educationist. It's good to see you live.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Good morning,
for joining
Nigerians.
us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. All right. So let's kickstart our conversation this morning. We've heard about the 7-year moratorium that the federal government has placed on the universities in Nigeria. And currently, Nigeria has 72 federal universities, 42 federal polytechnics, and 28 colleges of education, in addition to hundreds of state-owned and private tertiary institutions, as well as specialized schools, such as colleges of agriculture, health sciences, nursing schools for a population of over 200 million people. Are these institutions adequate, for over 2 million aspirants? Professor Haruna.
Well, I will tell you it's not adequate. That's one. But even if you say they're adequate, the material you take from primary, secondary school to these institutions, are they prepared for that? So if government say is putting a moratorium over the establishment of new universities, I think it's just an afterthought because of perhaps pressure. The few ones that are in existence have not been funded well. There are no lecturers. There are no equipment. The facilities, nothing to write home about. So if you say you are not going to establish more universities, I don't think it is a well-thought program. There is a pressure. You realize that even the few ones you have established, you are not funding them well, and the lecturers are not even there. And nobody wants to go into the teaching job because the way we are handling our academics. So I think, well, since this is the day where politicians do what they like to do, I think they want to come with a political solution and to say that we are doing something well.
When you say there are pressures coming, forcing, twisting government hands to take this decision, where are the pressures coming from?
They're coming from the public. Because the public are saying, you are not funding the universities. And more are being established. And there are some universities who don't even have enough students. Because the university is not more attracting the young ones to go there. And if government is establishing universities, especially in this generation, you see, before, universities were established from executive councils. Today, universities are established from parliaments. So universities have become constituency projects. And everyone who moved a motion for the university to be established, even though he may be in parliament, try to own it. He would like to own the vice chancellor, he wants to own the registrar, he wants to own everything. Then at the end of the day, even if projects are to be sent to the schools, the same person who moved the motion for the establishment of the university, if the president has assented to it, will like to be like the monarch. So because of that, definitely there are pressures. Pressure from those who work within, the instability within, and I don't think government is able to handle what they are facing.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think that universities are not attractive to the young ones now? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, but yes, they are not attractive.
Okay.
But they want the paper qualification.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone wants to have the university experience, but they are not there for knowledge. They are there to get the paper so that they can use it for something else. But university is not a paperwork place. It's a place where you have intelligent people who seek for knowledge's sake. and they are involved in their hobby. And this hobby is supposed to bring solutions to problems in our society.
Okay.
So that we can conquer our environment.
So that we can conquer our environment. I like that when you say that. It's an alarming situation, Dr. Ayam. Very alarming situation. And with this moratorium, you know, what in your opinion is the main objective of this moratorium? What do they intend to achieve with that?
So, yeah, from the feelers, because I tried to read out what people were saying, and I followed the conversation that the minister gave when he was talking about a university that had just about 800 students with over 1,000 staff. So, yeah, when you look at that, you can say for sure that we are not being proactive in terms of strategic planning. We should be talking about one academic to a ratio of 45 students, which is the practice in South Africa and other places where
Ghana, Togo,
where things are working within Africa, Kenya, and a few other places. Now, we've not been able to actually plan that. As Professor Haruna said, so university establishment has become a political tool for recognition. Because even the locations of some of the universities would be a reason why students will not be attracted to go there. So then conquering our environment, as he said, it's alarming because we've not conquered our environment. Yeah, once you establish an educational system anywhere in the world, even if it were to be traditional education, the focus of that education was not about making a name, but about social control. So in my study, I studied the socio-political systems of my ethnic group, the Ham people of northern Nigeria. And what I found was that even the establishment of the initiation rites was actually done with a conception to control the environment, to control the behavior of people. So for instance, people had a masquerade, they would call it Nangboji. Until I did the study, we didn't know that the meaning was who was afraid. That was the name of the masquerade. So the masquerade only comes out, for instance, when there is something that is wrong. And then the idea in the heads of our great-grandparents was to fetch out whosoever has committed the wrong. They didn't have a university, as we have, or a polytechnic, but in their conceptualization of the world, they knew that they needed to do something in order to have social control of the behavior of the behaviors of their people. We do not have that. We rather have a gathering of people who drunk morning in, morning out, evening out, just to graduate. And I am a graduate. But beyond being a graduate, there are qualities. And these qualities are actually what we're talking about, that we're in a short supply of them, because when you earn a certificate anywhere in the world, it is said you are given this certificate in character and learning. You have to look at, I mean, from a linguistic point of view, character before learning, which means that the learning that you have undertaken should have transformed your character. So character comes first, is the main product that we want, not the learning. The learning should produce character. This is not the case. When you walk in the streets, people who blare horns, people who insult people in Nigerian streets, they are educated people. Now, so it means that we have not conquered our environment. People who beat traffic are educated people. So there is a huge concern, the kind of education we're offering. Is it just an education for the correction, or is an education that is aimed at achieving a goal? And this goal should be, how do we get tomorrow to be better than today? I would say that in my few years of life, I have seen good roads anyway, maybe better roads. But in terms of quality of life, I cannot say that what we have today is better than what I witnessed as a child. I told my children lately that I never bought a shoe, but I never knew that you could buy a shoe by the roadside as a child. And my father was merely a soldier. We bought shoes from Leonard's, we bought shoes, Leventis and Bata. Today, when you buy a good shoe in Nigeria, God helps you if the shoe lasts 6 months, if you trek like some of us do. So we've not conquered our environment. Education should actually help us as a people to go beyond where the previous generation lived. So I wouldn't say that I am happy with the quality of education that we offer in Nigeria.
Okay, you're not happy. Okay, while Dr. Hayab was speaking, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi just came in. He's registrar based university. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure.
Okay, we are discussing this the 7-year moratorium on tertiary institutions, but I'd like you to just relax, take your, relax. But we'll come to you. But let's come back to Professor Haruna now. Earlier on, you talked about the universities not being attractive to the youth, to the young ones. And one of the, I guess one of the reasons why government plays that 7-year moratorium is for, the institutions to be, improved in terms of quality, to upgrade facilities, and also to recruit qualified staff. What do you think, how do you think government can actually increase or expand the capacity of staff now?
Well, I wish I have read a document from the government saying that we have put this ceiling because of A, B, C, D. They always said no more establishing of new universities without giving us, well, if they have given the reasons. I'm the Secretary of Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. So I deal with the 299 universities.
I think one of the reasons is that most of the universities are even underpopulated. There are some universities, just like he said, like he noted, that we had 800 students and we have 1,200 lecturers. You understand?
Yeah.
And there are some institutions and universities where maybe polytechnics, colleges of education, where no application at all in a single year.
Yeah.
So they're just there.
Yeah.
Those are some of the reasons why government is, coming up with this, policy for a year.
Well, first, they should tell us these universities where we don't have students.
Yeah.
Look at the location where the university is.
Okay.
That is one. The quality of staff that are in that university, how are they recruited? Who are the movers for the establishment of this university? Perhaps most of these universities where you have well-populated students, they might have come from a motion from the parliament somewhere. And then we have a schedule in recruiting lecturers. Say, for example, you want to establish a department. We have what we call staff mixed. Okay, you need a professor, you need a reader, you need senior lecturers, you also need lecturer 1, you need graduate assistant. The reason being that there will be continuity of training. But now you go to these universities, you have non-teaching staff, more than the lecturers. Because of what? It has become a constituency project. Appointments are done because the man who, or the lady who push for the establishment of these universities are controlling what goes there. And they want to show that I have provided jobs for my community. So these universities, perhaps from my own experience, there are universities who have been established, perhaps not well thought out. Location, the leadership in that university, and the kind of support and the funding. Secondly, thirdly...
So which means that what you're saying is that the policy cannot address the issue of under-enrollment.
Of course. The reason being that there has not been proper thinking. Maybe they just established that university thinking TED Fund will give the money. And you see, the money TED Fund has is thinning out. So no, you hear a big figure. It's like an allocation. Even the way TED Fund gives out money, from my own, well, if I am to suggest, it should not just be we have given so many billions. No, a certain percentage of what TED Fund collects should be dedicated to the universities or higher education. And it can be gradual. But now, every year we have given so many billions. Another year, so many billions. Just like we have insurgency, We have insecurity all over the place. Instead, as governors are saying, go back to your farms. Instead of providing tractors and fertilizers, they only send trucks with foodstuff and hand it over. You give 2 bags of rice to a family of 20, and you said you are trying to mitigate insecurity, and you are encouraging the people in the IDP to go back to their farms. So to me, this is just the approach, you know, an approach which is not well thought out. So, well, let's just be more serious, you know.
About education.
About education. We have these professors of education. Where are the researches made by these professors and making recommendations? Early universities, you hear of Ashby Commission, you hear of this commission, you hear of this commission. Okay? But we don't have them now.
Is it government now that is the issue, or the NUC? Because I read that even the minister was actually not happy with the NUC's decision of just issuing out, licenses to, for the establishment of universities.
No, NUC does not issue a license. NUC recommends.
Okay.
That's all the feasibility studies.
Okay.
Then if government is not happy with what NUC is doing, just like they have set up a committee to look at the ASU demands and whatever, they should also assess the recommendation by government from an independent source. And they can come back to NUC and say, well, we have discovered this and this may not likely work. But if NUC does her own recommendation and they send it and it is approved as fake, how can one come back to the NUC and say NUC has not done the job? Okay. NUC was established more than 63 or so years ago. Just like the body I'm leading, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, almost 63 years ago. And successively you find recommendations coming from these bodies.
Okay.
And that was why they were established. Initially they were established as in the cabinet office, so that government can really understand what is going on.
Okay.
But today, I'm not even quite sure the views of the NUC or Committee of Vice Chancellors is really adhered to.
Okay.
But we are still talking. You see, our task is to simply advise government to provide a direction that will help the country, not to condemn government.
What you're saying now is that the vice chancellors are not being carried along in all these policies, decisions that government makes.
Well, there is always interaction with vice chancellors.
Okay.
Okay? But do they really listen to what the vice chancellors say? All right? Again, if you appoint a vice chancellor through the kind of political gymnastics we see, what do you expect to come out of it? You see, I was a vice chancellor. I was in Gashua. When I was asked to establish the Faculty of Law, I said, no, Gashua is not right for the Faculty of Law.
Okay.
There is Faculty of Law in ABU. There is Faculty of Law in Maiduguri. What I'm going to specialize on, the people from, well, the herders are moving from that zone south. Okay. And there is plenty of grass on the river Yobe.
Tapa grass.
Good. And this grass cannot be eaten by the animals. So what I did, I entered a partnership with a university in America and in Spain. I said, let us look at this grass. How could we turn this grass into animals' feed so that we can stop the migration of our brothers and sisters going down to other parts of the country? And within 1 year, honestly speaking, this grass, we're able to harvest it and turn it into animals' feed. But I refused to set up Faculty of Law. But there was pressure to put Faculty of Law because that zone is good for agriculture. Secondly, I recruited a professor from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. I said, why is it that maize cannot be grown in Gashua? So he came. You know, this rural farming is established long time in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. And this guy came, we were able to eat maize for the first time. But there was NISA, Northeast Development Cooperation between the EU and the Northeast governments.
Okay.
But that place has become a carcass. And why? A university has come, something which has been established for many years by the European community, and it has been handed to us. We have not been able to do anything. And I said, we have a good faculty of agriculture. NISAP is what we are going to partner with. These other things go somewhere else.
Okay. All right, Jumai.
Okay. Let me bring in Professor Abiodun Adeni into this conversation. Thanks so much for joining us. You've been listening to what our guests have been talking. Let's have your opinion on the moratorium, on, establishment of new universities. But while I was reading up yesterday, I found out that some private universities were approved before
the moratorium.
Yes.
While the moratorium was being announced.
Was being announced. Yeah. So what's that all about?
Well, my own understanding is that sometimes when government want to moderate or when they want to be regulatory, they come with what looks like a sense of force. But it's also coming against the background of thoughts that we're having too many universities that are not necessarily viable, that I've had some of my colleagues here refer to, and how they're not viable. We're having too many facilities. Government is having to invest in infrastructure, human and material. Materials, human and, invest resources, human and material, and no results. Results will have been having more students or more students that we are presently having. So it's becoming concerning, really, and they thought, okay, what do we do in this circumstance? Should we put a break to this thing? And that's why I think government came about with the moratorium. But I think it has been underscored as well that the moratorium only relates to government universities, states and federal universities, not necessarily state, because I don't think government has oversight over the states, except they want to exercise it through the NUC. But private universities are not yet affected. And what they have told us that maybe with time, they might consider putting moratorium on private universities as well. But I don't know. Nigeria
So the private universities are not affected?
No, they're not affected.
So
from the report that I saw.
From the report?
Yes. Private universities are not affected by the moratorium. Just federal universities, not even states, are said to be affected. Okay. But what they also said is that they might look at private universities later to see whether they should continue to register them or to discontinue it. But again, I think I'm coming to it with mixed feelings, because I know Nigeria's population is huge and burgeoning, and continuously so. Prof just talked about Nigeria having 299 universities now, quite a lot. And how do you situate that within a population of over 200 million people, where the quest for university education is unceasing, and we're also die-hardened about certification. And when we're talking about certification, we're concerned about certification at a very high level. And universities seem to epitomize this. And again, if you match Nigeria alongside other populous countries in the world, you will see that in terms of quantity, we are probably not at par or even nearly so with them. Brazil, for instance, has universities in thousands, just like Indonesia, and I think Malaysia and India to some extent. And if you look at the United States of America, their population versus the number of degree awarding institutions they have is also very high. The United Kingdom is not doing badly, but if you want to match us with these countries, that have these institutions in their thousands, we're nowhere near where they are. So in terms of trying to say we want to come close to them, we might be thinking of saying, okay, we don't have enough universities yet, so let us register more.
What about the quality?
Yeah, I'm coming. Let us register more. But it shouldn't just end within that framework. There's also a sense in thinking about our kind of economy. Our political economy, is it viable enough to stomach more universities, considering how capital intensive it can be on both sides, on the side of government and even on the side of private investors. There are quite a number of private investors in this country that if you check very well, they are not very viable. Even private investors, they are not very viable. They are not what you understand universities to be. And they are practically just struggling in different layers. And this may not be their intention. Universities are ordinarily supposed to be established as one, to give back to the society in terms of the development of human capacity, right? Sometimes they are established to preserve a legacy or to preserve names. It's hardly a profit-making institution, entity. The essence is to grow the society through the stimulation of the society's human resources. But if we misunderstand, that purpose for something else, then of course there will be problems like we are somewhat having now. At the point it was becoming like something that you can describe as fashionability, a sort of bandwagon effect, where the average big man just thinks that, okay, I have enough resources, now let me establish a university, through school fees, some levies, I can thrive. But by the time you get into it, you see that it is capital intensive and it is continuous, okay? You need physical structures they have to be conducive, you need human resources at different level. Professors are not easy to pay, what about non-academic staff? Several of them. And you have a required number that you need to mount every department. I think Prof also alluded to it. All these things don't come cheap, and it's continuous. Now, how much are you going to pay? How much are you going to charge the student that will be commensurate, or that will help you even up, that will help you meet your financial needs? And that's why public universities will continue to complain, because our political economy is not strong enough, to manage the ideal university we're probably envisaging. And what about the private universities as well? Yes, I've talked about it earlier. But what's the way forward, really? I think moratorium might just be a government-owned approach to dealing with what is appearing to be a menace. Okay, it's born out of what I can describe as governmentality. But will it work? Because it's been said that, okay, 7 years, then after 7 years, what's going to happen? What conditions led to this moratorium? What if those conditions are resolved even before the expiration of the 7 years? So we don't have clarity in that area. But to say that what government has done isn't a welcome development, I think to some extent it's something that can be that we can comment, but comment with care, really, with caution, because it's just saying that government is aware of the registration or the mushroom of universities that are not necessarily viable. And this shouldn't be so, because I also heard him talking about quality. Quality can also be very, very concerning. What quality of graduates are we really producing? And how are they impacting on the society? Are we not getting embarrassed by some scholars, some graduates that we are seeing in terms of their productivity, their outputs? Is it what a university graduate should actually look like? Then how do we grow this? How do we grow this? Then how do we compare with universities elsewhere where we are easily celebratory? Is it ever possible for us to compare favorably with them in terms of productivity and efficiency? So those questions can be very disturbing, if at all we can answer them. And in trying to answer them, I think government is thinking that let's just manage the situation for now by coming up with a moratorium.
Okay.
But there has to be an outcome to it, really.
Okay. Trying to manage the situation now.
So, we need to remind our viewers that our lines are open for you to send in your text messages, and we can take them to the guests here so that they ask text messages and comments so that our guests will respond to them. I actually have one or two that came in. Let me read them because we have another topic coming up in a while. Let me read them. Engineer Omeyong from Jos said, the proliferation of universities and orders is really bad, rendering the standard to its lowest ebb. The moratorium is a welcome development. Government should go beyond that by merging or closing down substandard universities or polytechnics. And Olanipekun from Ibadan said, I genuinely believe that this approach presents the greatest opportunity for enhancing our educational landscape. It is crucial for the government to concentrate on improving the standard of the current higher institutions we have. Now, Dr. Hayab, let's talk about the moratorium itself. How far is it going to go? How it does not affect, like Professor Adini said, it does not affect private universities. So What happens to the government universities if we continue to have private universities being approved by government? What happens to our students? What happens to the common man's child that wants to go to go and get?
That is a big question. I think while we were having the conversation, one of the things that crossed my mind was that maybe some people out there do not even know what the word moratorium actually means. Okay. So moratorium, a moratorium in the political term is an official embargo or ban on anything for a period. So once you place a moratorium, whatever that is supposed to be done at that time has been officially put on hold.
I think the moratorium it also covers that of the private universities as well.
No. What he said, based on what I have read, I would actually support the last comment that you made, that many people believe that this is a step in the right direction. The only problem is that after this, and so what? So the philosophical idea behind bringing about the moratorium is the question that we need to deal with, and this question actually aligns with it. So once we place a moratorium on establishing public universities, particularly at the federal level, given that the state too cannot do much in terms of the number of universities that a state can actually manage, what happens then to the teeming young people who are coming from low-income families? Which universities would they go? So yes, that is a big question, and we need to actually look at it. But the only fallback, we would say that these universities that have not had many students, maybe this time around, we would now bring them to the open and encourage students to apply to go if possible.
But like you said, the environment matters.
Yes, the environment.
So these universities are in,
areas that are inaccessible. Yes.
There.
So one of the, like all of the speakers have said, the politicization of education is the most dangerous thing that we've done. From my little travel experience, I've not seen universities in typical interior areas, whether in Europe or in the parts of Africa that I studied. But in Nigeria, I know some universities that are not in an area that I would wish to send my child to go. At least education, schools used to be established in the bush when we were growing up, but with the rate of insecurity now, no boarding school, for instance, in Kaduna State that I come from, that is in the bush. All the secondary schools that were in the bushes were actually, children were taken away from, including the one that was closest to the town, the Bethel Baptist High School where I taught, and then everything had to go to the city. That is already a danger in itself. So coming back to where our children will end up, that is the big question. Yes. We need to look at the number, and the people in the low-income cadre, they are more than the people in who can afford private universities, because an average public university in a year is 2 million naira, and that is the salary of an assistant director in the Federal Civil Service, annual salary. So it means automatically a person, and anybody who is an assistant director must have been in service for a minimum number of 20 years and must have read to a minimum of a master's degree, or in most cases. Now, so if they cannot afford to send their children to the cheapest, and this university that is 2 million is should be the cheapest, yes, than the ones. So we need to have a rethink. But then I'm not calling that the moratorium should be lifted. I do think that coming back to your message now is that, and the message of these two speakers, that what do we do with the moratorium? Is it just a moratorium because it's not just like an act. It shouldn't just be like an event. We've done it, and then we need to create what Professor Haruna talked about, the conversation. I would suggest to the Honorable Minister of Education that this is the time for the conversation, for the dialogue. Talk to the people who are in this business. Understand why, all the whys. Once you can answer the whys, then we will now be able to say, okay, what are the next steps that we are going to take? These universities that are also placed in the cities, they do not employ based on merit. They do not, most Nigerian universities do not employ based on merit. You're either looking at the religious background of the person, the ethnic background of the person. I have a story from a university closest to my house. that a colleague of mine who I know is a very fantastic teacher when it comes to measurement evaluation. He went there to be employed because they needed somebody in the reader cadre, and he's qualified. And unfortunately, I'm a Christian, maybe I'm not supposed to say it, but the question was that, is he one of us? Whichever religion that the person was speaking. How could you talk about an academic about being one of us? When you fly an aircraft, do you care to know the religion of the pilot? The question is no. You are interested in landing safely. That is the way an academic should be engaged. It's the capability of the academic and not where the academic comes from. Unfortunately, these are some of the things. So yes,
some of the things
they're affecting the quality
of education.
Yeah, so you meet people who tell you, I'm a professor. You engage them. You know they are not qualified to even earn a first degree by the content of what comes out of them. When you go somewhere, you meet academics and they talk to you. They simplify issues. Here we're still talking about using terminologies. Terminologies is not knowledge.
Yeah.
That is one thing. It is said that anybody who cannot simplify an idea does not know, he doesn't have a command of that idea. So you keep calling big names. I've been involved in teacher training in Nigeria and across the states. I can tell you that when I meet people who train people from universities, sometimes I shake my head in disbelief and in shock that, is this the way? Because you see them and they're quick to tell you, I'm Professor this. Because we use titles to intimidate. One other thing is that, in my experience, this is the only country where an academic is equated to a rich person. Nowhere in the world, nowhere I've ever been to that, because you have a PhD, people think you have money. You have a wedding, you invite an academic to come there. No, I do not attend weddings as a chairman. I said, if you have a school speech and prize giving day, invite me. That's where my usefulness comes. If you have a seminar, invite me, I will come. I don't even need you to give me money. If it's in my community, that's part of my community service. But a chairman at the wedding, even a person who cannot write his name, can actually be a chairman at a wedding. It's not to say we wish you happy married life and then you donate some money. So the issue is we need to go back to the drawing board. Yes. After the moratorium, which is okay for now, what next, Prof, is the issue that we should be talking about. And I will honorably call on the Honorable Minister to call the people who are in practice to discuss with them, because he might have a good intention, but I'm not sure he knows exactly what the situation is.
Or what the problem lies.
The problem is.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hayab. Okay, so we have more questions and comments here. This one is says, good morning all. Establishing universities as a constituency project by legislators has wheeled off the good intentions of establishing a viable, character and knowledge-based university in Nigeria. This one says, good morning to you all. I really love your program. Please and please, federal governments and lawmakers should stop establishing more tertiary institutions and concentrate strictly on how to have a high standard. That's Aaron Lafon. This one says, kudos to the minister for his findings. For more transparency, publish and transfer other overpopulated lecturers to institutions that are lacking in lecturers. And this one's from Abbas, from Jalingo, Taraba, says, the 7-year moratorium declared is one of the best policies of this administration. However, we hope the government will support and provide the adequate needs of existing universities. Otherwise, the moratorium will be meaningless. Professor Haruna, I want you to respond to some of these comments. And also, I want you to respond to what Professor Adeniyi also said concerning how to, how government, what mechanism government needs to put in place to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of this moratorium in order to, in improving the quality of education we have in the country. What do you think they should do? What mechanisms do you think they should put in place?
First, research.
Okay.
Let us have an informed data. And this data must come from research, not just a public pronouncement. And the good thing about the Minister of Education, he's been working abroad. He's one of the well-known physicians internationally. And now he is here at home. But I think he has a big challenge the data which will give him the informed decision perhaps is not there, but rather people come with some ideas and say, look, do this because, so I think the problem is overwhelming. So the solution to this is proper research, and we have the universities, we have the professors, we have the experts, all right, to do this. Secondly, let's go back to history. When we want to have the policy on education in Nigeria, you bring a professor who is a specialist in the field. This was the days of the Babs, far from us. One of our greatest, educationists. If you talk about education, he already knows it on his fingertips. But today, we have, politicized things. We put people from different fields into areas which is not their own. And therefore, they rely, I'm sorry to use the word, sometimes sycophants. And then they come up with a solution to a problem, and then suddenly the society tells them you are wrong. So I think we need to get the right people in the right places so that nobody can deceive them.
So do you see the moratorium as a sustainable policy, just a temporary, response to a bigger problem? We're looking at a bigger picture.
I think it's a response to a bigger problem because we realize that there is a danger. The Chinese have a saying, if you are traveling and you go 1,000 kilometers and you realize that you have made a mistake, it's not a shameful thing to make a U-turn so that you can correct, but you shouldn't continue. So I quite admire the courage to say, look, let's reflect. And as a scholar, if I want to solve a problem, I just don't look at it locally. First, I look at in history, where was this problem experienced? Then I analyze that. And I say, okay, today, where is this kind of problem taking place? Again, I look at the outcome. Then I say, where do I situate myself? That's when you have a solution. So perhaps there was something like that. I don't know. But anytime we want to come with a solution to a problem, particularly education, let's look back to history. And this history, not only our history, other societies. We always cite, for example, Malaysia. Okay? How did Malaysia pass us? Singapore. Okay? So I don't want us to be a lamenting nation or as if we are not making progress. Nigeria is a beautiful place. The indices that makes Nigeria look bad, we should try to find a way to surmount them and attract people. Every day, I was just appointed to an international organization, and I was telling them, how do you want to operate here? First, I told them, you got to reorient the minds of the people you want to engage. And if we do that, Nigeria will be a beautiful place. Because nobody wants to run away from Nigeria. But the issues or the environment, the kind of thing that goes there. So the embargo, to me, it's okay for now. But let it not be too long because the population is growing. And there will be demand for higher education.
So 7 years is too long?
Well, I cannot say it's too long. But maybe government may even come back and say, no, we have realized that after 3 years, we need to change this.
Okay, maybe the quality and all the has been improved upon. Okay.
But we should not politicize it. We should not approach it with a political mind.
Okay.
We should look at it and put a study into it. I will give you an example. There are a lot of proliferation of bodies coming to supervise universities, professional bodies, while the NUC is there. Now, NUC came and said, look, we are not going to allow this to happen because we have our statutory role. Immediately, as Secretary of Committee of Vice Chancellors, I said, look, let me look at how much money did the university spend on those kind of programs which were carried out not from the NUC, so that I can look at whether there was a waste to help us decide on how to move on, not because we hate those bodies. So research is critical to understand where we can move on. So I encourage the boldness of the government to come up and say this.
Okay.
But with public universities.
All right.
Private universities is just like language policy. You will say like, Nigerians are free to teach their children with Nigerian languages. But the government doesn't have the teeth to control this in private schools.
But most of the private schools are of quality now, because if you look at the ranking of Nigerian universities globally, the #1 university right now is Covenant University.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the private are doing a lot, investing, you know, man quality and everything. But
Professor Adeni is smiling.
Professor Adeni,
he's smiling.
yes, I want to.
Sorry, I'm not trying to enforce myself in.
Okay.
Before Professor Adeni talks,
yes,
he's coming from a private university.
Yes, it's coming from the private
All right.
university.
Now, most vice chancellors in the public universities are not even allowed to do what they are doing. What am I saying? So, one, too many oversights. The little money they have to focus on research, they are always on the route to Abuja every day. Too much interference from outside.
You mean in the private universities?
In the public, no, in the public universities.
Okay.
So if you come to a private institution like this, they have a program. You must achieve A, B, C, D. They wake up every day thinking
new ideas.
Okay, I'm a provost. I'm a pro-chancellor of a private university, so I understand that. But now again, I was a federal vice chancellor, so I saw why almost 70% of my time was not in administering the university, receiving guests from this body, from that, oversight, come budget defense, come and do this. So they don't have time to think, to even provide the leadership. So, however, there are very excellent vice chancellors despite the challenges.
There are.
Who are doing
because
well.
Most of these private universities actually outsource from the
public universities.
No, from the public university. There are excellent vice chancellors too, but they should be left. For heaven, they should reduce the interference in the public universities. The trips to Abuja should be reduced. The so-called oversight, you know, I find it even if it is legally right. I, as a member of parliament, I don't see why I should go to a university to be looking at buildings and say that I have come for oversight. I should be busy by making laws that can really improve the quality of lives of Nigerians.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Oh, let's begin, Professor.
No problem, Prof.
Let's begin, Professor. Professor Adeni, just like we said, we noted that if you look at the rating of universities in the country, at least the private university is #1, even in West Africa. You talked about that the number of universities may not be even equal to the population compared to other, countries. So how do you think government needs to balance? You understand? Balance, they need to improve education quality with the demand for increased access to tertiary education. What way do you think?
Okay, good question. But first, maybe we should remind ourselves of one element in the report. I mean, the announcement of the moratorium, which we are here to underscore, except I missed it in our conversation so far. NUC said that the new administration in NUC inherited about over 500 demands, for university licenses, over 500. And out of the over 500, about 70 were considered. And of the 79 were recommended for government's approval. Okay, so what that tells me is that the demand for it is increasing. The demand for private universities is still increasing, and it will continue to increase. Perhaps that's why the government said they will look at that at a later date, whether or not they should tamper with it a little bit. But what we should also underscore is that in any part of the world and in different sectors, most of the time you find out that it is the private sector that is more vibrant, much more robust. And that's why we talk about capitalism that encourages private sector to thrive, to drive, particularly in the sphere of economics, essentially. We can see that even into other sectors of the social system as well. And education cannot be absent in the matrix. Some of the best universities in the world are probably private universities, you know. At best, you could see some collaboration with some powerful civil society organizations or some element of collaboration with government. But the private sector actually drive efficiency and productivity in any system where government is supposed to simply be regulatory, as the case could be. But predominantly anyway. But again, so if private universities are doing better or they are trying to do better, it's not going to be something that is unusual, considering how they can be quick in making decisions, how investors, proprietors can be concerned about leaving that legacy that I talked about earlier, and how would they leave the legacy if they compromise quality. And of course, we realize that parents, guardians, they are paying a lot for their awards. So if they are paying so much for their awards, you want to give them value for their investment, for the money they are paying. So those are the principles that drive the efficiency that we're gradually noting in private institutions, as the case could be.
Okay, we have some messages still. Let me take this message from Dr. Nasir Bello. He said, "Good morning, Nigeria. Tertiary institutions are agents of national development. The 7 years moratorium is 7 years embargo to national development. Don't forget we have more than 200 million brains in this country." That's Dr. Nasir Bello. And one of our guests, a respondent who didn't write his name, said, "I really love this program. Please, the government should stop employing people into the education sector based on politics. It should be by merit. By so doing, they are helping us to meet the high standard that we need." Let's bring in Dr. Hayab in this conversation. So how do countries, outside Nigeria, balance expansion with quality? And what lessons can Nigeria learn from it?
This is where the whole problem starts. I think the compromise of excellence in Nigeria started, maybe I can still recall how when I was growing, I've told this story several times. I attended a primary school in a typical village where you could not access until on a market day. I was up to primary 2 before a road was constructed that passed my town. But I could read in that village. I was taught by excellent teachers whom I still remember their names. Most of them have passed. When I left and I went to secondary school, I attended secondary school in Kaduna town with people from all walks of life. Our teachers were of excellent qualities. And it didn't matter where they were coming from. My teachers in Form 1 were mostly Igbo, Akwa Ibom, and mixed with people from the north. It wasn't a matter of where a person was coming from. I think the real thing is the day we compromise excellence in this country and started to look at sectional interest, that was the death of our university
system. Almost everything in this
because country. I do have a good experience of meeting former lecturers from Ahmadu Bello University outside of Nigeria when I was a student. In Ghana, I was always received by lecturers who taught at ABU Zaria who eventually left for the University of Ghana. Once they heard that there was a boy from ABU Zaria, this person will invite me to dinner, this one will invite me to dinner. When I went to South Africa, I met the likes of Nuri Faradin in literature. These are the big names that we read. He had taught here at the University of Jos. When I was in Hamburg, I worked with Professor Ludwig, who was also taught at the University of Jos. And, the likes of big name, there's this guy who has a very big name in African studies and politics by the name Ali. He had worked in Nigeria. Alu Mazure. He had worked here in Nigeria. So we're able to attract the best of brains. The Ezekiel Mpalele from South Africa taught at my department in Zaria. Now, so then today if you go to Zaria, the big ABU Zaria that we're proud of, that we used to say the biggest university in Southern Africa, you might be surprised to find that the academics come from maybe one state, one ethnic group. You can't grow a university like that. We just need to call this spade a spade. You go to University of Ibadan, you will find the same thing. Most of the lecturers come from one area, one ethnic group. There is no way the diversity that is in the word universe, because the word university comes from the word universe, which comes from every walks of life. Then we are trying to regionalize the academic system, going back to the era of the second generations of Nigerian universities, because after University College London, Ibadan, which was formed for Nigeria, which should have been the University of Nigeria anyway, that would be a debate for another day. Then the next generation of universities were regionalized. ABU, University of Northern Nigeria, then IFE, then you had University of Nsukka today. Even at that time, even with the sectionalism of those, locations of those universities, the people they employed were of quality. It doesn't matter where you were coming from. When the ABU we eventually got Professor Audu Ishaya, I've read about it, when he came from Lagos, all the first-class students that time from ABU's area were sent to go and study masters and PhDs. The likes of Kwanashi, Mike Kwanashi, and George Kwanashi, brothers, but because they were excellent minds, they were sent by the university to go and earn PhDs and come back to work. And anyone who attended ABU in the Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Social Sciences would definitely readily, relate to these names, the likes of Bala, Usman, and all that. What happened? What happened? So we've compromised. We're trying to expand, but we're not expanding with the sense of excellence. I would say that one of the things I learned from Professor Abdullah Mahdi of blessed memory, when he was in Zaria, his own daughter did not pass. She didn't meet the cutoff mark. She attended FCE Zaria. That's the vice chancellor who had whatever it takes in the Nigerian way to make his daughter attend ABU Zaria. She attended FCE. I, Philip, ABU was my second choice. From a village I knew nobody in Zaria. My name came out on the newspaper, in the newspapers, because I scored, I met the requisite mark. So that's why I'm always proud of the ABU of the time. If we can go back to that time where somebody does not need to know nobody, but out of merit will be admitted to the university, the same thing, somebody does not need to know anybody, would be made a lecturer in a university, expansion does not matter. We will catch up with the world.
Okay,
but once we don't do that, we're gone.
Because of time, maybe we'll just take your parting shot, Professor Haruna. Concerning this discussion, this 7-year moratorium on tertiary institutions. What's the way forward? In just 60 seconds?
Yeah, the way forward is a time for reflection. Let us reflect, and by the time we lift this ban, we will move forward. But I pray that we should be serious research reflection, to look into what made us to do this.
Okay.
Finally, when we want to establish these universities, we must be, when we lift the ban, we shouldn't go with the mentality of those kind of things he mentioned, so that we don't turn our universities into glorified secondary schools within a particular area.
Okay.
We want to see diversity. We want to, in both staffing and students. Lecturers should come from outside the country, but we must also understand when we have actually, using the Zubredayah's words, useless our professors, we cannot admit lecturers from other countries.
Okay.
Rather, our graduates, our lecturers will move to other places because Nigerians have fantastic brain.
Okay. We're the best in the world.
No, I always
Professor
believe
Adeni,
that.
in 30 seconds. Yeah, in 30 seconds.
I think government should be concerned about, supporting the universities. In the manner in which they are concerned about supporting their comfort.
Okay.
Government prioritizes comforts around personal comforts and even official comfort, and they pay maximum attention to those. The way they are concerned about infrastructure as well, about utilities as well, the university should not be excluded from this matrix, because nothing works for a better university, a quality university, much more than a conducive environment. Pedagogy thrives, in comfort, and predictability also thrive, where the environment is most suitable. Learning is very tricky. If it is disrupted because of lack, it cannot be productive. Government should pay attention to this.
Doctor?
Government should pay attention.
30 seconds.
I believe the moratorium is a welcome development. We need to make use of the time to study, understand, and take proactive actions to curb the menace that we have found ourselves in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Philip Hayab, an educationist. Thank you for your contribution this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Also, I want to thank Professor Andrew Haruna, Secretary, Committee of Vice Chancellor of Nigeria Universities and President, Nigerian Academy of Letters. Prof,
thank you
so much for being part of today's discussion. The last but not the least, I want to thank Professor Adeniyi, Biodun Adeniyi, who is the Registrar based University. Always willing to come. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break. When we come back, we delve into our second conversation this morning. Stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
We can change the narrative about Nigeria. You know, when people talk about Nigeria, they talk negatively about it most of the times. So it's the role of the filmmakers to now bring that positive side of Nigeria for the world to understand that Nigerians are more than the negative information they used to get. And we can do that digitally because in those days, you know, you have to communicate or go for lectures for people to understand where you're coming from. But now you have these platforms. Everything you have can go on these platforms. People will see globally. Look at Nigeria on Netflix. It's doing really very well. When Nigerian films premiere on Netflix, you find out that they're in the top 5 or top 10 in most of the European countries, Asian countries, and all other parts of the world. So this is one of the ways through which we can be able to export that, you know, or do that cultural exchange.
How much of being a Nigeria cultural ambassador are you? And we're all guilty of this. Most of us Nigerian filmmakers are guilty. So here we see a good number of us telling stories that are still Western culture dominated. From the naming of your characters, from the writing of your story, the characters are named English names. What happens to Yoruba names? What happens to Hausa names? What happens to Igbo names? What happens to Tiv names? What happens to our cultural epic names? Oh, they say, but they will not be able to pronounce it. Oh, leave that to them. Do we pronounce their own names? We have to be intentional about how we represent our culture, knowing now that the world is a global space and you don't need people's permission. Everything you do, directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, you're putting the Nigerian story out there. I think we should begin to make conscious attempts at creating our own streaming platforms. So we thank God for giant streaming platforms like Prime Video. We thank God for giant streaming platforms like Netflix and the rest of them. But what happens if today or if tomorrow we come up with our own Nigerian Netflix?
Yeah, welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we have with us to examine the importance of sodium limits and reducing salt intake. And our guest is Dr. John Tehite. He's a food science technology consultant at Network for Health Equity and Development. You're welcome to.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us, what's this all about? I need to, it's an education actually we're going to have today.
Yes.
What's it all about?
Salt is an important ingredient, both for food manufacturing and for our physical well-being. You need salt for your normal physiological activities as a human being. As plant also need salt to be able to grow, to be able to do whatever they want to do. So salt is a natural thing, which is present in most human beings and plants. In food industry, we use salt for various purposes. The most important is for the taste. You need salt to enhance the taste of your food. You need salt also to improve the texture of your food. And most important also, in the industry, we use salt to enhance the shelf life, the durability of the food. So for safety, for food safety purposes, salt is key. However, when you consume salt in excess, despite the fact that it has so many physiological properties, then it begins to work the other way. And that is why salt reduction program is key, which government is key because of the health risks it imposes on those of us that are still bent on consuming excessive salt. It's not that eating salt is bad. It is consuming excess salt.
You made a comment while we were discussing off air before we introduced. You said there's hidden salt.
Yeah,
what
there's
does that
hidden.
mean?
That is, you know, the visual salt you see, which you put on your table, on your food, when you are cooking, that is the salt people normally think. But like I told you, when you eat processed foods, salt is added in various ways which you don't see.
For preservation.
For preservation, to enhance the taste, and for textural purposes. And two, some of the food we eat contains salt naturally.
Okay.
That which is, when I say salt, I'm talking of sodium. Sodium is a component of salt. So it is the sodium component that is critical to health, and that is what we are talking about. That's what we're talking about today.
Okay, so you said that consuming too much of it is injurious to health.
Yes.
So what are some of the risks associated with this? Can you let us know?
Okay. Now, when you eat excessive salt, the first thing you begin to notice is that it is a risk for hypertension. It enhances, it makes you have high blood pressure. And this is because salt naturally attracts moisture.
Okay.
We say it's hygroscopic. So when it absorbs moisture, it increases the volume of blood flow in your veins, and therefore increases the pressure to which your heart has to work to be able to accommodate this pressure, this added pressure. So the more salt you take in, the greater the capacity to be able to have high blood pressure. Number two is also involved in cardiovascular health. Okay? Blood pressure, hypertension, stroke. So you see now that in those days, hypertension is rarely noticed in this country. But if you go now, even in the rural areas, it's almost becoming an epidemic situation in the country. And that is because of the fact that some of the things we were talking about, hidden salt, even though you don't know that you are taking salt, the way it is, okay, our dietary pattern has changed from what it used to be to this ready-made, ready-to-eat, or what we call convenience foods. And that is some of the things, some of the changes that we need to begin to understand and begin to relate to.
So how can regulatory policies enforce sodium limits without affecting food availability in Nigeria?
Very, very.
Do we need policies?
Yes.
Okay.
Government in recent times, in obedience to WHO guidelines, WHO has provided guidelines on salt reduction because they have seen it globally, and they have given guidelines to countries to say, okay, if your country is involved and you are noticing that there's a high epidemic of these diseases, look at salt reduction. And this is the way to do it.
Okay.
So Nigerian government, about 2-3 years ago, has started to study the pattern, the dietary pattern, the way we eat in this country. So, and have evolved policy on sodium reduction. And what this does was that it was based on the study that was done by the Sodium Study Group of the University of Abuja. They conducted a wide, long research on the way we eat, the type of food we eat, and the sodium residues in our blood system. And they come up with data, which they made available to government. And government now set up a national technical working group. And they look at it and look at where does salt consumption, dietary salt consumption, comes the most in terms of what we eat, based on how much we eat,
okay,
and the frequency of the food we eat. So they come up with benchmarks similar to the WHO. What we call benchmarks, sodium benchmarks, is that you cannot go, this is the best sodium level for various categories of food. So that was done. And it is these sodium benchmarks that has now been provided for NAFDAC, who is the regulatory body, to be able to turn these benchmarks into law. I think that process is ongoing.
But there is so much, you're having these processes and all that, but are you actually collaborating with hotels, restaurants, and creating the necessary awareness, you know, because Nigerians, I'm just hearing for the first time, and I know a lot of millions of Nigerians have not heard of this. And so how do you create awareness? Because people are not aware of this. And the people that actually use salt, the restaurants, the big hotels and all that, do you, collaborate with them? Do you carry them along with this research?
Obviously, there is a stakeholder consultation.
Yeah.
And this stakeholder consultation, even during the benchmarking of the products, was done with a lot of stakeholders from various sectors.
Okay.
Consumers, producers, the restaurants, and many other things. We are coming together. Okay. For example,
including Mama Put.
Including Mama Put.
Because that's the best.
Yeah, because that is
because they use it.
That's the best food.
Data has shown that restaurant food produced outside the home, okay, contain 70% of those foods served in the restaurants contain salt beyond the WHO benchmark. And also packaged foods, what we call processed foods, which you buy in supermarkets, also are major sources of excessive salt intake.
Yeah.
So the National Technical Working Group has to sit down and prioritize these categories of food and what benchmark based on research findings to set for sodium reduction. Okay, that list was contain about 32, 33 categories of food items, has been approved by the Honorable Minister, and it is now to be made into a regulation so that it becomes mandatory for the industries to reformulate, because the product has to be reformulated such that the salt content is in line with the benchmark that has already been made. So all these things are ongoing. And like I said, this type of thing we are doing today is part of the awareness creation among people who have not heard before. There are various other means of awareness we are creating.
Especially in the communities.
Especially in the communities.
In various languages.
The various languages.
So what's your level of collaboration with maybe NOA?
Yeah,
National Orientation Agency, Jingles, like...
they are part of they are members of the National Technical Working Group on Salt Reduction.
Okay.
So they collaborate with us. And then we in terms of jingles, for example, we now
radio.
Have, like radio. We now have a national, this we say, let your head determine your taste. And that is what the NOA is helping us.
What your health?
Let your health determine your taste.
Okay.
So it's part of what we have developed as a result of all this communication and many of these.
Well, given our food culture in Nigeria, people like a lot of salt.
That's what we're saying.
Yes.
You know, taste is an acquired property.
Yes.
We acquired it. It's not that we inherited it. So if we go on salt reduction and massive education to be able to say, okay, this is why you must reduce salt, okay, and you get your salt not through the one you, for example, monosodium glutamate, which many of us use, don't know it has a lot of salt. Now, what I'm talking about, bouillon cubes. I don't want to mention. You know what bouillon cubes are?
Yes, yes.
So many of us, particularly our wives at home, use bouillon cubes. Yeah, women use bouillon cubes without knowing that it contains a large amount of sodium. And they will still add salt. So these are practices that we do that may be due to ignorance. And that salt goes into your food, and when you eat it, you understand it. And majority of our ready-to-eat foods nowadays, which we call convenience food, also come with all this hidden salt. And then when you begin to eat them, the salts begin to accumulate in your body, and you begin to have excess consumption of salt.
Okay, let's talk about something that is very, very important. That is schools, where our children go to school and are fed food. The education sector, are you collaborating with them?
Yes.
To ensure that our kids don't get all these, because we see young children with hypertension, with low blood pressure, with diabetes, with kidney problem. In school, you know, nobody knows where they get it from, actually. So in boarding schools especially.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is of a major concern.
Yes.
Because I used to, in most of the things when we give lectures like this. Now, in those days, you rarely hear of hypertension. People die of hypertension, people die of cardiovascular disease or whatever, or even cancer. But today, because of change in our dietary pattern, things are happening, particularly in schools, where you pay so much. And then you now see a child who is about 14 or 15, and is already obese. And then it's already having some symptoms of high blood pressure. And it's just 14 or 15. So what is it? How much drug is he going to use to control his blood pressure?
At that age.
At that age, till when he's 60 or when he's 70. So you find out that if care is not taken, that child may not be able to survive beyond 50, 60 years old.
Maybe that's why the average age of...
is falling.
It's falling.
So before we let you go, what advice would you give to the public about salt consumption now? How do we begin to reduce our salt intake? Yes.
Yes. Number one, first and foremost, is that we have to discipline ourselves. Like I said, taste is an acquired phenomenon, and you can live with it. Number one, we need to be able to say, okay, what are the alternatives? What can I use as an alternative to salt? And there are several.
Like
spices. Okay. Those are natural products that do not contain
some of these spices, don't they have salt in them?
They are natural. I said natural spices, not processed spices.
Okay, on that note, Dr. John says, you know, that we've run out of time. He's a food science technology consultant at Network for Health Equity and Development. Thank you so much for coming, enlightening us, educating us.
Thank you very much.
So we're looking for more of this and the enforcement of it as well.
Of course.
When is it going to start, the enforcement?
Well, the law is being put in place.
Okay.
But the guidelines is already approved by the Honorable Minister.
Okay.
So the moment the guidelines are put into law, enforcement, there are discussions now going with the industry. Okay. And I told you about reformulation.
All right.
That the industry can also come in.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much for coming. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We hope you've been informed on the intake of salt and how dangerous it is to health. I am Juma Yusuf. Thanks for watching.
And I'm Adimolade. Thanks for joining us. Do have a lovely day.